Have you ever had that feeling late at night where something just feels wrong? You can't explain it. Nothing happened, but your gut is screaming at you. Tonight, I've got 3 true stories. One happened in a house just like yours, one on a highway with no exits for 30 miles, and one deep in the woods when nobody could hear. Let's get into it. I woke up at 1:17 a.m., not slowly, suddenly, like something pulled me out of sleep. My podcast had ended. The forest outside was completely silent. Not the normal kind of quiet where you still hear a few crickets or wind. I mean dead silent. The kind of silence that doesn't feel natural. I lay still and listened for maybe 30 seconds. Nothing. I told myself an animal had probably passed nearby and spooked the insects into silence. It happens. I'd read about it. I closed my eyes and tried to go back to sleep. Then I heard it. One branch snapped clean. Not a small animal. This was weight. Human weight, or something close to it. About 40 feet out, I guessed, somewhere in the dark to the left of my tent. I sat up. My heart was going fast, but my head was still rational. Could be a deer. Could be an elk. I'd seen elk sign on the trail in. I grabbed my headlamp, but didn't turn it on yet. I just sat there in the dark, listening. 2 minutes of nothing. Then I heard it again. The same side, closer this time, maybe 25 feet. I told myself, deer, and I almost believed it. I stayed sitting up in my sleeping bag for the next 20 minutes. The sounds had stopped. No more footsteps, no more snaps. The insects didn't come back. I kept my headlamp in my right hand, bear spray clipped to the tent loop directly above my head, knife on the ground beside my sleep pad. I'd done this before, not because anything had ever happened, but because being prepared was just habit. At 1:52 a.m., I decided I needed to look. I can't just sit here all night, I told myself. I unzipped the tent door maybe 6 inches, slowly, because the zipper sounds like a scream in the silence, and shone my headlamp out in a slow arc across the tree line. Nothing, just ferns and Douglas firs and my dying campfire down to orange coals. I held the beam on the left side, the direction the sounds had come from. Branches, shadow, nothing else. I was about to zip back up when I noticed something on the ground about 30 feet out at the edge of my light. A shape, low to the ground. I squinted. It was a small pile, looked like fabric, maybe, or a bag, pushed up against the base of a tree. I stared at it for a long time. It hadn't been there when I set up camp. I was almost certain of it. My gut was screaming at me by this point. Something felt deeply, deeply wrong. Not scary movie wrong, instinct wrong. The kind of wrong that makes the hair on your arm stand up before your brain even processes why. I stayed in the tent. I did not go check what it was. I zipped the door all the way up, moved my sleeping pad to the far side of the tent, and sat with my back against it, bear spray in my lap, watching the tent wall like something might push through it at any second. Nothing happened for the next 3 hours. I did not sleep. At 4:44 a.m., the first gray light started bleeding through the tree canopy. I unzipped the tent and stepped out with my headlamp still on, even though I barely needed it. The air was 45 degrees and smelled like pine and damp soil. My legs were stiff from sitting tensed up all night. I looked toward the tree where I'd seen the shape. It was still there. I walked toward it slowly, bear spray out, and when I got close enough to see what it was, I stopped dead. It was a backpack. A real one. An old external frame pack, the kind from the 80s or 90s. Faded green canvas, straps frayed, and it was packed full. Heavy. Someone had set it down against that tree and walked away. Or someone had left it there for me to find. I did not touch it. I stood there maybe 10 feet away from it, turning in a slow circle, scanning every direction between the trees. Nobody. No sounds. No movement anywhere in that forest. My satellite communicator was in my tent. I went back, grabbed it, and sent a non-emergency message to my contact, my buddy Jake back in Portland, telling him what campsite I was at and what I'd found. Then I started breaking down camp. Fast. I had everything packed in 11 minutes. I did not eat breakfast. I did not make coffee. I just moved. I hiked out in the dark with my headlamp on full blast, and I did not look behind me once. Not once. Because I knew that if I looked back and saw someone standing there on that trail watching me leave, I would completely fall apart. So I just walked. Fast, eyes forward, all 3.5 miles. Empty forest trailhead parking lot at dawn, single car, headlights on. I got to my car at 6:08 a.m., locked the doors immediately, and drove straight to the ranger station in Mackenzie Bridge. I reported everything. The sounds, the footsteps, the backpack. The ranger on duty, a woman named Carol, took it seriously. She said they'd send someone out to check the area that morning. I gave her my number, drove to the nearest diner, and ate the biggest breakfast of my life while my hands were still shaking. Carol called me back at 11:40 a.m. The rangers had gone out to my campsite. The backpack was still there. Inside it, they found clothing, a tarp, a hand-drawn map of the trail system, and a spiral notebook filled front to back with handwritten notes. Names, dates, descriptions of campers they had observed. Carol wouldn't read me the specifics over the phone, but she told me this. My campsite was on the last page, along with a physical description of me, the color of my tent, what I'd cooked for dinner, the time I'd turned my headlamp off. Someone had been watching me all evening before I even fell asleep, and when they came back at 1 a.m., I woke up. They never found who owned that backpack. The notebook entries went back 14 months. Whoever it was, they'd been out there for over a year. That's it for tonight, you guys. 14 months. That's what keeps me up about this. Not one night. 14 months of names and descriptions in that notebook. How many people hiked out of that forest never knowing they were being watched? If you've had something happen to you out in the woods or anywhere else, drop it in the comments. I read every single one. Subscribe and hit the bell if you're new. And hey, maybe don't camp alone this weekend.